Hello, I'm Graham Elwood. You are watching the Political Vigilante. Silver Surfer was given to me by Pasta at a Jimmy Dore show at Flappers in Burbank, which is really cool. And there is the Dark Knight photo with the blue light. Thank you guys so much for supporting independent media. And, we could use more of you on the Patreon. The more money we get, the more stuff we can do. Like I said, I want to get a TV screen. I want to put clips in there and need a lot of cool stuff I want to do. And those of you that are already supporting, thank you so much. And of course, you get bonus videos and other cool stuff. You get to suggest articles and things like that. So I want to talk about, obviously many of you have seen this, Trump's new budget and who he's rewarding and who he's screwing over. I just got a link from the LA Times that I'm going to put below, but I'm sure you've read it a million other places. And this will sum up what the White House stance is, what their whole attitude is. White House Budget Chief Mick Mulvaney said after a briefing on this past Tuesday, yes, you have to have compassion for folks who are receiving the federal funds, but you also have to have compassion for the folks who are paying for it. It's clear where yeah. So it's a budget that pits taxpayers against the poor. More of the the fucking poor should have been born poor. And putting taxpayers against the poor. I'm tired of paying taxes to bail these people out. Yeah, man. More budget for the military, and I'm sure after this awful attack in Manchester at that Ariana Grande concert, which is awful. It's awful that happened. And any parent took their kid to a concert and that happened. That's horrifying. But it's also horrifying that we kill civilians with our drone strikes in the Middle East. And if we're killing civilians, be they in the UK, America, Yemen, wherever, it's awful. It's awful. And maybe if we weren't doing so much of that, we wouldn't have so many terrorist attacks. And if we weren't spending so much money on all of this war machine, we would have money to help the poor. This country has zero compassion anymore because the corporate state has trained us all to hate the poor. You lost your job. You probably did something screwed up. You lost your house. You're probably an idiot with your money. No, the system is broken. And maybe you did make a couple of mistakes or two, but there's no leeway. This is the richest country in the history of the world. There should be a big safety net, as FDR created and said we should have. We should have a safety net. That makes us a better society. When we're like, oh, fuck the poor. You walk and see the homeless people on the street and say, oh, these dirty bums, look at them. You think the reason there's more homeless is because there's just people have gotten more lazy? You see someone a poor person, a homeless person, you should have compassion for them. You should think, how do we get this person cleaned up? If most of them are suffering from severe mental illness, how do we get them to start taking their meds? How do we get them cleaned up if they have a serious problem of addiction? Because that's what most of the homeless population is suffering from, severe mental illness, and they're self-medicating with street drugs and alcohol. Maybe we should try to help them out. Somebody who lost their job, how do we help them out as a society rather than turn our back on them? Oh, they're just dumb. It's their own fault. And this budget is just, again, I've said it a million times, Trump is just a grosser version of everybody else. 54% of Obama's budget was for the military. And now it's just, this is what the Republicans do. Tax breaks, just tax cuts and cut funding for everybody because they have demonized people that are struggling. They've demonized the poor. And the mainstream media does this. It's not just the Republicans. It's the corporate media. CNN does it. MSNBC does it. Fox does it the best out of all of them. And shouldn't we have compassion as a society? And let me tell you something. If you cut all these programs, it's not going to the idea is we're going to cut these programs. They've just been sitting at home collecting my tax-paying welfare checks. They should go out and get a job. Okay. All right, let's see how that works out. Because we're going to cut these programs, and then people aren't going to have all these things, after-school programs, and bigger tax cuts for rich people. Boy, that's what we need. Boy, the 1% has been really struggling for a long time. They really need more help, the fucking 1%. That's what this is all about. This is a war against the 99%. That's what they've been doing. And they want to pit us against each other, black versus white, men versus women, all this stuff. And I'm not excusing any sexist patriarchal bullshit. I'm not minimizing any racism that's there. I'm not saying those things aren't there. They're very much there. But at the top of it, it's all about screwing people over and keeping us divided. It's all about keeping us divided. That's what the Democrats did. That's what the I'm With Her campaign was. They made that a gender battle with Bernie. Because you couldn't really attack Bernie's policies. You could say they're pie in the sky, but you couldn't attack his policies. So you had to then, he's sexist when he said, wait your turn during that one debate. The burn bro thing was created by Tom Perez, if you read the Podesta emails. So that's what this is all about. And this is, when you have a Democratic Party that does that, then when a Republican, then you let a guy like Trump get elected, this is what he does. This is what he does. Right? The reforms enacted in 1996 states that you cannot force march people out of poverty. They have to provide both right and incentives and necessary tools to help people overcome significant impediments to gaining and holding a steady job with a decent wage. That was enacted in 96. Ignoring that lesson, the Trump budget would invest in fewer of those tools, including after-school programs that help lower-income parents go to work. Subsidies to make healthcare affordable, career and technical education, and work-study programs. It's the rich people, the upper middle class and the rich, they have no concept. And most people, if it doesn't affect them personally, if it doesn't come knock on their front door or happen to their kids or happen in their literally backyard, rich people just have no, pick up an extra job. Okay, who's going to watch the kids? You can afford a nanny, rich person, or one of the parents can stay home. If you can afford if you have a two-parent household with several kids and one parent can afford to stay home, you're doing okay. You're doing all right. Because most houses, both parents have to work and they have to have several jobs. And then who watches the kids? You have to figure that out. Someone has to figure, and just cutting all these programs is just going to make it harder on everybody, man. These projections of economic growth with an assumption the largest ever tax cuts, and tax cuts. It didn't work for Bush. It didn't work for Reagan. Giant tax cuts don't work. The highest tax rate people ever had was in the 50s and 60s. It was also the highest rate of regulation. The richest people had to pay the highest tax rate in the 50s and 60s, and that's when America blossomed. You work hard, you create a big business, you make hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars. Good for you. You got to give some back. You got to give some back. And boo-hoo, what do you lose? One of the houses in the Hamptons? Is that what happens? You can't take a helicopter from Manhattan to the Hamptons. You got to drive in a car like a savage. Boo fucking who. This is just, but America, we don't give a shit about the rest of the world. As long as it's all safe here, we screw over poor people all over the world for our own self-interest. We bomb and kill poor people. We don't help out their economy, so why should we help out our own people here? Fuck them. And when you spend over $600 billion a year on military, this is what you get. Not surprising. As I've said, as Chris Hedges says, Trump is a symptom, not a disease. And we have to fix it by voting in real progressives. I'm going to say this until I die. Over and over, we got to get real progressives in there. People who are going to actually change this kind of crap. People who are going to reduce the Democratic. That's my laundry. I got to go do laundry because I don't have a housekeeper. But that means this video is just about over. But we get a progressive in there, cut down the military budget and put spending back into this country and its people and help workers versus helping rich people. And the Democrats and the Republicans have been fucking everybody over for decades. We need to make it stop.